repo
Hey
markets or
Daniel,
something
you're
like that.
live now.
Overnight
It's
trading.
overnight trading. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Something like that. I can't remember the exact. It was pretty complex, but essentially like
Daniel, can you
America's.
hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, you're live.
Sweet. We're live on LinkedIn.
All right, I'll be
Where
Where
are
are
back
we
you,
in a
live?
second.
Jimmy?
Anywhere else?
I'm driving home. I'll be there in a second.
All right,
Gotcha.
let's cut the live
Okay,
and let's
cool.
wait for you.
You're live. Just record. Do your thing. Talk about a topic. I'll be back.
Oh my god.
Hey, everybody.
What's up, guys? Daniel here. We're at the Behind the Food podcast. We got Hank on from Nature's Wild Berry. It's great to have him. He's going to be joining us for some of these less formal episodes. So we interviewed him a while back for
Wait,
his
I didn't
episode.
get the memo that this is less formal.
Well, I don't know. I didn't either. So we're just figuring it out as we go. He definitely has this, he's got the good setup with the background and stuff. So he definitely has, he's always ready to go. So we love that about Hank. But yeah, we shot an episode with him a while back and it was fantastic. If you haven't seen that episode, please watch it. It was great. But we love that episode so much that we wanted to do a recurring episode where we kind of do a deep dive into what's happening in the world of CPG, just any topics we want to talk about in the space. So yeah, we're just going to talk about everything that's happening in the world of CPG. And Jimmy will be with us shortly as soon as he gets parked and inside his house. We know what it's like. We're all entrepreneurs. It's hard to keep things running smoothly all the time.
Jimmy's a family man, so he gets a lot of
Exactly.
leeway.
He does, yes. Unlike me, I am the opposite. My baby is the business, and that's not necessarily a good thing.
Well, let's talk
So,
about
Hank,
your baby. You had some good
yeah,
stuff. Yeah, share
yeah,
share with the people. Then I can
yeah.
share with
So,
I can share news about Nature's Wild Berry, and then Jimmy will be here and we can talk about the broader news.
definitely. So, Giovanata, which is our empanada company, we are currently in the process of launching a new truck in Nashville, which will be cool. That'll be at a development called Lost and Found, which is a kind of a multi-purpose mixed-use retail food truck park in Inglewood, which is kind of on the east side of town. And that launches mid-March. And that'll be really cool because it'll be the first time in maybe 2 years that we've had a fixed location truck, which is as close to brick and mortar as we get. We do basically everything but traditional brick and mortar. So we do stadium concessions, we do wholesale into food service, we do food trucks, we do events and catering. And the reason we do that is because rents at a traditional brick and mortar are very, very expensive. And we don't like to pay that because it cuts into our margin. So we've had a really a good success doing everything else
Can you
around
share
that.
what's the difference in expense?
Sure. So when you're looking at a food truck, usually you work out of a commissary kitchen, which I think you're familiar with those, Hank. You kind of started in spaces like that. And for example, we have two trucks that operate out of this commissary, and our monthly here all in is maybe 2,300 a month.
Hmm.
And those trucks together can do anywhere from 40 to 65K in revenue a month. So you're down to sub 5%, rent as a percentage of, your gross. And ideally, if you have a
When you compare that to a location, a fixed lease, what are you looking
yeah.
at paying there?
So ideally, if you were in a good situation, you'd be at 10% or under. However, oftentimes that doesn't happen and it's closer to 15 and
When you said
20%.
10%, I kind of chuckled.
Yeah, yeah. That's what people say you should be at. And the thing is, like, you look at the revenue you have to generate out of a brick and mortar to make that number work, especially with the way rents are in, big prime markets like Nashville, LA, New York, Chicago, Austin, etc. You're having to do millions a year in revenue just to get to
Hmm.
that 10% or 5%. Whereas with, smaller like micro restaurants or food trucks or concessions or food halls, all of these like alternate formats, you don't have to do but maybe a few $100,000, and all of a sudden the numbers are kind of singing. So that's kind of where I've landed, is that kind of micro restaurant, food truck, concessions, food service space where it's not traditional brick and mortar. It's every other kind of endpoint you can imagine.
Okay, so I don't want to interview you, but I'm just curious. I got some
Go for it.
follow-up questions, So What are the trade-offs? Are you, I guess, weather, you're kind of
Hmm.
subject to that, right? Because if it's like raining or hailing, you're not going to get the business that night,
Yeah,
right? But then
yeah,
again, if
and
you're raining or hailing, people don't want to go out anyway, whether it's
yeah.
to soccer
So
stadiums or malls or whatever.
exactly, yeah. So it's highly, highly weather dependent when you do what we do. Now, obviously, if you're in a beautiful market like LA, it's less so. I think the food trucks out there, I've talked to some of them out there, they're seeing gross that are nearly double the average gross of Nashville. And that has more to do with just the average number of good weather days that they have versus us, right? So when
Hmm.
you talk about Nashville, about Thanksgiving to uh, like March, sales drop, right? Depends on the year, weather fluctuates. So that's one of the big disadvantages. One of the big ones too is that you can't really take advantage of your digital sales as much, right? So you're talking your Uber Eats, Grubhub, DoorDash, Postmates, Amazon, whatever, right? Whatever that digital sales channel is, much harder to take advantage of when you don't have a physical brick and mortar. So kind of what we've done
Because they
to
don't
mitigate,
allow that for food trucks.
it is possible, but it's very, very difficult to manage when you're moving point to point to have
Hmm.
the location change in those apps.
Now, does it
They are
matter?
working on it.
Will your fixed location that we just talked about, will that support all the apps?
That's exactly right. So yeah, having what we're seeing is kind of a hybrid model where you have shared outdoor seating, sometimes covered,
Hmm.
and then maybe you have an outdoor bar, which is what we'll have here, with a couple of
Hmm.
trucks, and then they
Hmm.
split all those shared costs together with the bar, and then they'll have, maybe 100 or 200 seats. So it's almost like an outdoor restaurant with like, or an outdoor food court with like five or six options. And the alcohol helps keep them on site longer, right? Maybe you have some small retail mixed in. So yeah, basically the future is small. It's smaller footprint. It's less expensive build outs, things like that.
And is there some sort of activity also like a sporting event or something like that where you can team up with Uber or Lyft and because people are drinking, get like better deals on rideshare and keep them around longer to eat?
Absolutely, yeah. So you're seeing, for example, if you have a food truck park that's not permanent, a lot of times you can get a code with Uber or Lyft where people can come and go from the event and have 20-30% off their rides or whatever, especially because they're drinking at these events. So the problem with Nashville as a market has been that there hasn't been a really successful food truck park. Part of that has been it's been built up so quickly that there isn't really retail or there isn't real estate to do it anymore. So a guy that I know bought this piece of property almost 10 years ago, and he's been sitting on it trying to figure out the right format that works with this kind of uniquely shaped property, and kind of dialed it in with this kind of micro retail outdoor bar, outdoor wine bottle shop, and like four food trucks and a little tiny retail pizza shop, all kind of in this like little symbiotic little ecosystem, and it doesn't take a ton of space either. And you have maybe 200 seats shared amongst all the different concepts.
Uh, it makes me just think about like places where people hold like wedding events and things like that.
Yeah, yeah. I think you'll definitely see, for example, a lot of buyouts with private parties, right? So if they want to do, say, um, a night before the wedding deal, right? So the reception or the rehearsal dinner, you'll
Hmm.
see birthday parties, you'll see corporate buyouts in this format. I think you'll see a lot of that where it's open, 6 days a week, but then maybe for 5 hours on a Friday, it's blocked out just for this private event, and they'll buy out the whole thing. We see that a lot with food halls, right? So a lot of times corporates will buy out an entire food hall for 5-6 hours, and they'll host hundreds of people there as part of their corporate event. So yeah, the opportunity to have it as an event venue is really kind of awesome. And you can do private dinners where maybe the food trucks do a more upscale menu just for one night, sell tickets. You do some sophisticated wine pairings. There's a lot of really unique synergistic opportunities. Do movie nights, right? Got a couple of hundred seats. There's all kinds of cool opportunities. So I'm really excited about this.
What about the opportunities to leverage the trucks themselves? Like, what are the financing options? When you have a
That's a great
business
option.
model that's kind of proven, like how easily could you expand in different markets? And that
Hmm.
leads me to like part B of the question, which is like we were just talking about how fast LA growth is. Like, what about bringing that out here in
Hmm.
like a form of a franchisee or something like that?
Yeah, totally. The nice thing, well, okay, so there's a couple of different differences between the way the markets work. So in Nashville, most food truck owners own their truck outright.
Hmm.
So they put up all the cash. Usually, it's between 50 and a quarter million to build out a truck here, which is
Is
not
there is
bad.
there a reason why they like to do cash?
Um, no, it's really cultural,
Okay.
truthfully. So when you
Hmm.
look at LA, it's a very different model the way the food truck business works there. It's very low capex because the way it works there is you lease a truck entirely. You don't really own the trucks. But the beauty of that is it comes kind of as a food truck as a service. So it comes with daily cleaning, propane refill, water fill and waste dropped out. You get maintenance on the truck. So you get kind of this concierge service built in. So the capex for your business really might just be the vinyl wrap for the rebrand, right, from whatever it was previously. AA Cater is really big in this in LA. They've done a phenomenal job of kind of creating this kind of food truck as a service model, for lack of a better term. And it doesn't really exist here, partly because the infrastructure doesn't exist here, like those fixed locations where you could park hundreds of trucks and have this whole ecosystem. They've some people have tried it here, um, but it's hard to get food truckers to understand the value of having someone that does all that for you, right? There's also less days per year you can sell here, so there is less overall value in that. But yeah, um, absolutely. In LA, it's much easier to go from zero to truck than it is here because here you're buying. But even so, if you consider like a truck can do, on the low end, a quarter million in revenue, on the top end, 500,000 plus, 50K in capex to hit those kind of gross is not bad at all compared to, you know, other segments like the restaurant space. You're spending, 500,000 to $2 million in capex to build out a restaurant. And you can kind of set your own schedule when you're in the food truck space, when you're not in traditional brick and mortar. So yeah, there's definitely it's definitely a lower capex way to grow, right? Especially because food trucks are easily financeable. You can do almost traditional auto financing with them, or you can do like if it's a used truck, 20% down and then 80% financed through a traditional like equipment loan. So yeah, there's definitely ways to get into it without having to put up that 50K up front or whatever. And then there's even people that will give you a rev share deal, right? So let's say you can do, we're going to do 40K a month in the truck, right? On average, we'll give you 12.5% of that until, you've paid off 50 grand plus say 25 or 50% in interest over top of that. So maybe 75, you pay off 12.5% or 15% a month of that 40 or 60K in revenue. And then, you just pay it out. Almost similar to like a Square loan that you'll see through their point of sale system. They'll offer these cash advances essentially. So yeah, there's a lot of ways to finance it.
Are there venture capitalists that specialize in the food truck space?
No, and there's really a gap there. I think that there would be, especially I think an evergreen debt fund would make a lot of sense because uh, there's so you can just back these debt funds with food trucks essentially.
And
I've
if you
actually
do that,
theorized that.
yeah, yeah. If you do that, what before I get into that question, another question. What do you think about electric food trucks?
What are you guys talking
It-
Great question. We're in
are you
tangential food
are
truck
you
land here.
Yeah, yeah. We're talking about his amazing growth, dude. You missed out. It's okay.
So
You can
where
Did
you're
you talk
replay
about
seeing
your
this.
thing already, Hank?
No, no, not. We haven't gotten to me yet. I've been quizzing Daniel. I've been learning
yeah,
all kinds of stuff.
so where you're seeing the biggest growth in electric or food trucks is the lack of needing a generator. So you're seeing like marine battery packs that are lithium ion power. You're not really seeing full electric trucks yet just because it takes so much power. Like you think about the battery pack it takes for a Tesla Cybertruck or one of those large format vehicles. You add the weight of all the equipment all the time, doing tons of mileage. It's tough to go full electric. I have seen trucks run on biodiesel. I have seen that because they generate a lot of fry grease. So I've seen some instances where they will take their fry grease, they'll sell it, and then they'll buy back biodiesel. That's absolutely a thing. I think that's kind of the best way to go about it is if you're generating a bunch of fry grease, why not just turn it into biodiesel and put it right back in the gas tank? It's kind of a cool synergistic loop there. And most of these trucks run on diesel just because it makes sense. So I don't know if we'll ever see full electric when it comes to food trucks. you'll definitely see the generators go away. They'll get replaced with big lithium-ion batteries at some point, and it's already happening. I'm seeing trucks switch over to that. Generators are so unreliable, and they're such a failure point in the whole ecosystem that I think at long term you'll see the generators go away and they'll get completely replaced with batteries because you charge those battery packs overnight, you're good to go for 8 hours. That's all you need, and you do it again tomorrow.
When we were first thinking about Nature's Wild Berry back in 2015 and 16, our goal was to actually start with a food truck. I think I mentioned this on the pod back in the day.
Yeah,
And so yeah, we were thinking about calling it Nature's Wild Side because we would travel up and down like the west side. But then like we were thinking like, okay, well, what is the goal of every food truck is to become a
brick and mortar,
restaurant?
right?
Well, I think this is a major fallacy. Why would you like now that we've had this discussion, I would say if I was a VC seeing this white space, I would say forget about having a brick and mortar. Forget
Yeah.
about that. The whole goal is to have the food trucks because that's way more scalable and way more profitable. Because another overhead thing that we're talking about is every restaurant I've ever been a part of, and I've been a part of restaurants for 11 years of my life, they all had 50, upwards of 50 employees working there.
Hmm. Hmm.
You know, like
Yeah.
we're talking about like high volume, whether it's like hotels or, you know, the joke is Cheesecake Factory. I worked at Cheesecake Factory,
Yes,
Claim
it's a great
Jumper, you
example.
know. But at a food truck, what's the max you're looking at? Three people? Two?
In very high volume shifts, I've seen five, but the day to day
Five?
you see, yeah, that's a really heavy shift, right? You're seeing that's a shift where you might be doing 6 to 15 grand in a shift, right? So we're
Hmm?
talking big numbers.
That's
Um,
that's five people generating 16 grand?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's insane. So I
That
mean,
pays for itself.
yeah. Well, the crazy thing is, I've done shifts with me and Elena, my employee, where we've done 8 or 10 grand with just me and her um, in one shift. Like we did like an 8 or 10 hour shift, and we did it. I think it was $8 or $10,000 in one shift.
Even if
Just
you're
two
paying
people.
like overtime, golden hour overtime, that's well worth it.
Yeah, yeah. The numbers really do make sense. The tricky part is it's a lot more brutal on the operator, right? So it's a lot more wear and tear on the person. So just trying to provide them the resources they need, like I said, like that kind of commissary model in LA makes a
You've
lot more
done you've
sense.
done you've done brick and mortar restaurant work, right? Like you've been in the kitchen or you've been a server, man, at whatever. That shit's
Yeah,
brutal too.
it is. It is in its own way. Yeah, it's different. Food trucks are a lot more exposed to the elements, right? So you see, like, we're out in the cold, the hot, tornadoes, floods,
Right.
whatever. Ice storms, we were out in those serving with World Central Kitchen. But there's also like we were out there
You
That's
serving
were
with World
out
charity.
Central,
after the ice storm. Stop it.
That's like you giving
dude,
your
by
life for
18
charity.
hours.
Yeah, but you weren't like in the ice storm serving because
We were
that would be
close.
weird. That would
We're
be
dude, we were
weird.
18 hours after the ice storm. We were serving.
They would
Yeah,
have
but
had to find a charity for
were you
you.
in the snow, like in the snow while you were surfing, like you getting dumped on?
No, no. But we were like actively serving while there was you know, like everything was like it was hard to drive, like it wasn't safe at all. We partnered with World Central Kitchen and
Just
pumped out
driving
like
around.
3,000 meals over the ice storm, over like 4 or 5 days. So yeah, there's opportunities like that where you wouldn't expect, like, everything's shut down, people need to eat. There go the food trucks, right? So like, there's definitely interesting opportunities like that where the world stopped. The same thing during COVID. We were busy beyond belief because there was all kinds of weird opportunities like that.
Before we hop off this topic, I just one more question. What's the coolest like collab you've done with other people, operators in the food truck world?
Mm. I would say some of the kind of really cool festivals we've put on,
Yeah.
where we do like kind of food truck forward festivals. We've done a few of those over the years where we'll have 15, 20 trucks. Um, and then maybe we'll have like a competition aspect built in. You'll see that a lot where it's like best of the festival or whatever. People get to, take home a prize afterward. There's been a few of those over the years. Those have always been fun. And honestly, we need to do more of them in the national market. Organizing them is an absolute nightmare. So I try to avoid doing that just because it's exhausting.
Are
Um,
there event companies that can do that, take that off your plate?
there are, yeah, and they're great at it. Yeah, especially here. There's some really good ones here. that really do a good job.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, Jimmy, it's good to have you, buddy. Good
Hell
seeing you.
yeah.
You looking
Good to
good,
see you
dude.
guys.
For $1 million.
I've had a really long day, so I'm glad that I look good.
Did you pick a friend up at the airport? 'Cause that's what I did.
Oops. Let's go this way.
No, but that's always that, dude. For you, that makes it real long because I imagine you're picking them up at LAX.
Mm-hmm.
That's not
Oof.
fun. That traffic's not
Mm-hmm.
fun. No, my
I
baby
wouldn't
woke me
wish
up
an
at
Uber
4
on him
a.m.
though. Oh, your baby. Well, there you go.
At 4 a.m.
That's the future.
and
That's the franchise.
That's
Speaking of
right.
franchises, that's the franchise.
yeah. Speaking of franchises, we finally sold our first franchise.
Let's
Whoa, whoa,
go.
We're
whoa! Yeah.
we are plowing ahead with the business model that I abandoned 7 years ago, and probably would have worked if I had just stuck at it. But
Well, tell
COVID.
us why you stopped. COVID. COVID was the reason why you
COVID.
stopped. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. We had 10 stores open. I mean, I think we would have made it work. I think we would have closed some stores and probably had to like pause for a year or two in 20, even if the pandemic hadn't happened, probably by 2021 we would have had to pause
Hmm.
what is happening. We had 7 more stores scheduled to open in 2020. Probably, I mean, we probably would have opened 10, so we'd have gone to 20 stores. Of those 20 stores, I can honestly say that 10 of them would have been underperforming, like not doing well. And we would
Meaning not
either
profitable or just underperforming,
just underperforming. It's hard to
but
lose
still
money.
profitable. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's just it becomes a bad
Not hitting the
investment, right?
targets. Mm-hmm.
Well, if I told you like you invest 200 grand into a thing and then you make 30, you'd be like, and by the way, you're also like working. You'd be like, no, that's a terrible deal.
Dude, so many CPG companies are not even in the black for
Yeah,
years and years and years and years.
that's
So
true.
it's like
But when someone buys a franchise from you, like that's kind of like the scenario, right? Like they're
the
like, I could
point
buy a
is for
rental
you to be
house.
profitable. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
they're like, I could buy a rental house, I could buy this business, I could do this other thing, and they have like $250,000. And it's like, where am I to make the most money on my and spend? I guess it's dichotomy, right? Of like, you could say, hey man, like where am I to make the most on my $250,000? But also, some people will probably be interested in like where I'm going to spend the least time as well. And
For the for the
this time
underperforming ones,
around,
Jimmy,
yeah,
what made them what for the underperforming ones, if you could just humor me real quick and educate me. What
it's just
made
revenue, dude. Just
like
revenue.
what it was it like literally advertising, like foot traffic, like wrong
It's
location or
I think it's wrong location, no foot traffic. It's in like a dead strip center with no anchor. So like strip center with like 2 restaurants, like our dessert shop, like a nail salon, no grocery store, no foot traffic.
isn't that the
Suburbs, like
number
not
one
good.
rule of like when you open a franchise is you got to make sure. So
No, but
what
when you
happens?
open a restaurant, bro.
Right. I mean, yeah, like you got to make sure you go where the people are. So how does that close in the first place? How did those 10 get started? Was it just like you
Well,
just the price was
not
super
all 10 of them.
affordable?
Yeah. So we I'll actually tell you exactly how. So we were 23. We started, opened our first shop. I turned 24. Make tons of money. Start franchising. I get it into my head. Oh, this is gonna be just like frozen yogurt. So you know what we should do because we opened our second store in one of these locations, frozen yogurt shop, and I converted it. So the build out cost was super low because we just converted a froyo shop into a no baked. I was like, oh, this works. And you know what? There were a bunch of in 2018 dying frozen yogurt shops. So I could just roll up in there, convert it, and open the store for like
Because it was just
we're talking like
oversaturated.
yeah, well, talk about like 25K and I could get a store open or 30, I guess like 30 grand. Like, so super cheap build out. The rent was dirt cheap because these are shitty locations, um, which is why they were profitable. Because like you're spending, I think that one location I was just talking about, like I was thinking of in my head, we spent about 35K a year on rent. Our labor cost was lower at that time, but like call it like 75 grand in labor. And then our COGS are usually around 20%, like blended, like the packaging, the paper, like all the stuff that you sell.
Yeah.
So like no store was doing less than like 250 grand a year in sales. So then the gross, you're grossing 200 under this conditions I just named, like the 200 grand goes really far. And then like granted, admin costs on a scoop shop, and people don't talk about this, like the administrative cost of owning another one is actually quite high. Like that is like 30, 40 grand a year because you got software, QuickBooks, payroll, tax accounts, like the CPA fees, like those are the things that like get you. And so like if you add all those up, we had stores that were making like 30, 40, 50 grand a year in profit. Granted, I spent not a lot of money getting them open when they were my stores. We had a couple franchisees in that situation where they spent like, I think the most
Too much
somebody
money.
spent was probably like 150 grand, 200 grand getting their store open. Just because like the build out cost was insane. Had issues with construction. They had to get a new architect. Like the whole thing was just a nightmare. And
Yeah.
then on the other side of that, they did do really well for their first year. So they definitely made money, and they were very happy with it. But as time went on and their location seasoned, it seasoned into something that like nobody wanted to go to. It's like 5 years in, 4 years in, deep in, and granted the pandemic had something to do with this because it did change what real estate spaces I think for restaurants worked and which ones didn't. Because
Yeah.
there were some restaurants that closed, and then because that restaurant was anchoring an ecosystem, everyone else in the ecosystem suffered. And then just people stopped wanting to go to that neighborhood because they're like, yeah, like that's not the place to go anymore. You probably saw that in LA all over the place. Where
Yeah,
like there is a cool
dead pockets or
restaurant,
bad pockets, exactly.
yeah, like and it was a cool place to go, and now it's not a cool place to go, and so
Hmm.
we dealt with that in a couple different cities. But yeah, man, I mean, like we would have figured it out, and I think the cool thing is now that I've done CPG, and now that we've manufactured our product at scale, and we sold into the grocery store, which means we've sold to the distributors. This time around, I'm providing like our franchisees have no kitchen. I'm providing all the product, and I'm doing it through the distributor relationships I already have, and through the manufacturing relationships I already have with the product that have already been. I wouldn't have had that ever. I probably would have never figured that out in the way that I had this time.
How much easier does that make like health inspections?
So much easier.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like you're talking like the
That's a great
people will
question.
come
Makes a
in
huge
and make
difference.
sure that like there's hot water. And
That's pretty much it.
like hot water. Like, are there rats? No, cool, sweet.
But
I was
this
always
gives
surprised.
you had me on rats. I just stopped talking, but
No,
but
I
I was
wanted to
like, but
ask.
this, but like this is like a uniform product. This is like this makes sure that when people maybe come from a different part of the city or out of town or
Yeah.
whatever, and they're coming back to a look at the formula hasn't changed. This is the exact same one
Or
everywhere.
if they go, they buy it from DoorDash, or they buy it at the fresh market, or they buy it somewhere else. They're buying the
Dude,
same
this
thing.
is
Like it's
so
just like
smart, Jimmy. How did
yeah, yeah.
who was it your idea or Megan's?
To go back to franchising, it was mine.
No, no, no.
Um,
To have this one kitchen that distributes to all the
that was
stores.
also mine. that
Ah,
was that
genius.
was that was
It's
also mine. But
smart.
that's just because like I CPG made me get so supply chain centric that
Yeah.
Hmm.
like I started thinking about these things like that. I also started thinking about the franchise as a pain pill for owning a small business. I have a
Right.
couple mentors that are really great guys in like the restaurant space, and most of them had
That
given
are
me advice a
local?
long time. Yeah, they're local to Nashville. They had given me a lot of advice back in the day that like you need to be franchisee centric, you need to make sure they win, blah 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 blah. But then like when you get like instead of saying these goofy talking points like we're franchisee centric, instead having a conversation around like how do we make sure they get to only work like 2 3 hours a week, own the store, have a manager and an operating partner, have a system, and actually do the little like tactical things that make their life better. And one of those things, obviously, is like we just don't have a kitchen. We don't have to have kitchen staff sick. Um, Now it becomes like a retail operation. Now they can be more successful. And you could define success for me the way I've defined it and the way I've been open with franchisees about it is like, yes, some of our stores make a lot of money. My store in Nashville downtown makes tons of cash. But the thing that I love about that store is not how much money it makes. It's actually the fact that we work like 1 2 hours a week
It's the
max.
freedom. You're
Yeah,
like,
like
yeah.
managing
Hmm.
it. So like I wanted to recreate that, and that's hard to recreate. I was gonna say about the health inspection thing. When I first got into the restaurant industry, I was actually shocked how like there's just not much that goes into a health inspection. I was always like, what the fuck is this? It's terrifying. I don't know if you ever had that experience, but like the first time I walked to space with a health inspector and they were like, "Yep, good to go," I was like, "What the fuck did we just look at?" Because I had thought that like they cared about like cleanliness, in general, and it's like unless it's like really messed up, they
Yeah.
don't care,
Right.
which is kind of messed up. And that's across municipalities. That's like me talking. I've interacted with probably like 9 different health departments across and like different sizes of metro areas. They don't care. They
You
just
know,
don't.
the people that go out to eat the least are the people in my life who have run and operated restaurants.
It's a good point.
They
I
make
Yeah.
don't.
all their own
I'm not
food.
surprised by that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely believe that. That makes complete sense to me. I actually got recently shut down very briefly on one of my trucks, and it was due to the weather. So we had this cold snap come in, right? And one of my water pumps on the truck froze, so we lost our fresh water. And I didn't realize that it had happened. So we roll up to service. Health inspector comes on. I turn the knob. We don't have water. So yeah, it's like
They're like, so
yeah,
you don't have any water, and you're like,
yeah,
yeah. I mean,
yeah.
washing
And
hands. Who needs to do that?
yeah, so they closed us down legitimately. We got a new pump on board. I installed the pump. We were back up and running, next day, next morning. So it wasn't a big deal, But that's an example of them doing their job. So kudos to them for when they do their job well. It's needed. But yeah, I didn't even realize that the cold had frozen my water pump and that I had lost my ability to wash hands because it literally just happened and then we served the next day.
Yeah,
It was just that
they
easy.
they break really easily. Hank, I want to hear about what's going on with you, man.
Yes.
It's what we haven't talked about
Oh,
apparently, and I
okay.
want to hear about that. And
Oh,
then we got to
you're
hop into
gonna
some
dig it out of
news.
me. Okay, okay. What do you want to? Okay, so I want to say thank you. I got a chance to thank you privately, but publicly, Jimmy's been instrumental with growing the same day delivery that we could do at Nature's Wildberry. So pumped about that. We've got some distribution opportunities in some metros like New York City, which is our second largest market. Uh,
Dope.
Chicago is in the top five for sure. So we're in all the suburbs there. Dallas is in the top five as well, and we're in all the Dallas Fort Worth suburbs there as well. And Las Vegas is actually a pretty big one for us too. And so we're in a few locations around Las Vegas, Reno, and probably 25 locations in total. And definitely had been looking into DoorDash and Dash Mart opportunities for years, plural, 3, 4, maybe even 5 years. And it's funny how the connections that you can make. I think I met, pretty positive I met Jimmy through LinkedIn, not at an event. And, you get to know somebody and like, okay, they've been around. They're not a fly by night type of business or person. And then they offer value also, and you believe in their product as well. It's not that difficult to make an introduction, and that can, fundamentally make a difference in not just like their business, but also let you be a part of their story. So forever, Jimmy's going to be a part of the story
Yeah.
about how
Let's
Nature's
go.
Wildberry is able to grow into same day delivery. I'm in the process right now. So we've already been selling on DoorDash in those markets. To my surprise, I didn't even know that. I think that if one thing, if I were to be a stickler, like a little bit nitpicky, is that communication across the board could probably be a little bit better. But
Are you
when
talking
you
about the
get,
retailers and the distributors right now? Because they don't tell you when your product is in their store.
dude,
They're
it's
like, yeah,
crazy.
it's just here.
Right. That's the email that we got yesterday. It's like, oh, and you've been selling, so wonderful. That's great news. Can you introduce me to somebody who is on your Shopify team so that I can put that on our website and let people know that they could get it tonight for their party, or in 30 minutes. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Um, so yeah, big loves to you guys over there at No Bake, Jimmy, you particular for helping me out there. And then I feel like maybe
My
people that watch this are going to hit you up for the same thing.
Yeah.
So sorry for putting that out
I
there.
already get hit up for it all the time.
Yeah,
Robin,
well,
Robin, and
you
the
got a
rest of the team
very
over there know that.
successful DoorDash business, man.
Yeah,
So
apparently,
that's
if I just brokered for DoorDash, I could pay my bills.
they should have a
Instead,
referral.
I don't do
They
that.
should have a kickback thing where,
I
Um,
know. So somebody should give me a kickback. I actually there was a moment, and Daniel knows this. So I went
Yeah.
through a midlife crisis in 2025. Like that was my whole thing. Like I'm going through a fucking crisis the whole year, and I started this
is that
podcast,
before or
which was
after you got
cool.
that beautiful car?
It was it was after.
Yeah.
After, see,
For
okay,
sure.
the car didn't even help it.
Um,
No.
the car was not part of it. So I needed to get a 3-row car because we were having a third kid. So I was
Yeah.
like, got to pick a 3-row car.
Yeah.
Megan likes electric cars. Here we are. Anyways, uh, the thing that was crazy is I shut down my manufacturing plant. Like it changed a lot of things about my life. A lot of things about no baked. Started keeping it simple. That was like my whole philosophy. And you keep shit
Hmm.
simple. Tried to sell my house in Nashville, moved to Bozeman, I live in Montana now. Um, and then I took some time off after Megan came back from maternity leave. I was like, I'm going to just chill. Like in it was like summer in Montana. And that's when I started podcasting more with Daniel. I started taking the
Yeah.
podcast more seriously. And then I looked into like a few things I could do. I was like, maybe I should get a job? Question mark? Should I get a job? And everyone told me they're like, don't do that. Like
Yeah.
that's not gonna work for you.
You're gonna
And it
last
won't work
not
for.
even a week or two. Yeah.
So,
Well, I haven't had a job since I was 23. If we're being honest, like it's not working. And also
yeah.
Laughable.
because
Yeah.
No Baked makes enough money to pay all of my bills, I don't really need to work. So they were like, dude, it's not gonna work out for you.
No.
What's gonna happen is you're
You're
gonna show up and you're gonna
unhirable,
hate it.
Jimmy.
Literally.
Well, I actually tried to get a job at DoorDash. I was like, I interact with you guys so much. I went to a trade show with them.
Yeah.
We had a great time. I did some like consulting work over the summer. I was at this trade show. I was hanging out with the team. I was like, maybe I should work at DoorDash. I was like, this is cool. I had a DoorDash badge. I was like, it's like I'm working at DoorDash. I could work here. This could be a thing I do. And then I didn't do that, but for many different reasons. And I think the more I think about it, I'm like, yeah, I have this like weird connection to them that I don't think is ever going to go away because they
Yeah.
found us, they made me successful.
Hmm.
I'm greatly appreciative to them for the rest of the time. But I don't know, man. I think I believe that every product has a platform where it's supposed to live,
Yeah.
and mine apparently was supposed to live there.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Finding product
yeah,
market fit is so hard, and when you find it, it's pretty fantastic.
that's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Um, did you guys have news topics you wanted to talk about? Because I wanted to do that during the show, and I forgot to look for any. I just sent you guys that tweet from Unusual Whales, which
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to talk about that. I would rather talk about CBG topic. Please don't make
Yeah.
me to be political again. Um,
We have actually quite
wait,
a
we were
few
going to talk
here.
about Once Upon a Farm. Is that the big one?
Yeah, yeah. I mentioned that, so I was like, they just IPO'd, and that's fascinating because there's not a lot of IPO activity in CPG, and there hasn't been for a minute. And the fact that they did kind of gives me hope that maybe the IPO ecosystem for CPG is starting to thaw out a little bit. Maybe we'll see some movement here. So
Well, I
that's my
think
take. Is like I'm glad there's some movement now.
I'm so happy
don't you
for
guys?
Cassandra. I'm so happy for her. John, obviously on LinkedIn, he speaks and people listen. Um, I could
As they
just say
should.
so many great things about Ari, who has been fundamental in Nature's Wildberry. He's
Mm,
been a key mentor, and I never failed to bring him up as somebody who took the time out to teach me a lot of the ropes, and he does that for almost every other entrepreneur too. So it's not just like I'm special at all. He's a very giving person. And then if it wasn't for Jennifer Gardner, probably no one would ever talk about Nature's Wildberry. Her quote was, "Remember where you heard it first. It works."
yeah,
And
yeah.
so that entire team, I feel like, in my heart at least, they deserve it more than anybody else right now. And I'm excited to watch them grow profitably. I know that they were kind of going like that in 2025 as a high growth year for them,
Mhm.
but I- what they're doing hasn't been done on a scale that they're on ever before. Like this HPP stuff where they keep the temperature down and they don't waste the nutritional aspect. They have the enzymes in the packets. It's like
It's huge.
if you if you need time in your life and you can't puree your own food for your babies, and you're driving and you can go to almost any location like Target or I mean any spot.
Yeah.
You can pull out up and know that this is like safe and healthy for your kid. That's powerful to me.
It's
So
huge. It's huge.
congratulations
It
to
is. It is
Once Upon a
powerful.
Farm.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
Daniel, to like play off of your point, I really don't like. I don't think people IPO in CPG very often. I don't think it's the goal. Like, you don't talk to many founders who are like, "Yeah, I'm going public."
Yeah.
That's not.
You
Doesn't
saw
seem to be a
Oatly do
thing.
it like at that $1 billion level, and it seems like that was kind of the peak of that activity. And I don't think that that's really
Can you
repeatable,
guys
and I don't
remind
think it's the
me?
goal.
Is Chobani public?
I don't think so. I could be wrong.
Well, I think it should be the goal though. Like, that's kind of where I'm going with this. Is like a lot of founders in our space. Um,
Bonnie's private, I
it,
think.
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's still private. Which again, like that can also be the goal. Where I'm going with this is, I think that team and like what they're building, similar to Chobani or similar to a lot of other companies that like kind of had like a core mission of like making food better.
I
And
think of
sticking to their
Daniel
guns.
Labinsky like kind. He
Yeah, yeah.
bought back his company from the private equity, private investors that he took money from, and then he like 10x'd it or 100x'd it. That that guy is crazy talented and mad respect. But to your point, Jimmy, uh, you got options when you go public. You can go back to private if you execute super well and you want
And you
to.
also kind of still control things, right? Like you still to a degree control what's going on a lot more than if you sold to Hershey
Hmm. Yeah,
or, like name the giant conglomerate. It's like our food system is the way it is
but you have
because it's
no
controlled
control as
by
soon
like
as you
seven
sell.
companies. Yeah, and you're controlled by like seven companies across the grocery store. If that wasn't the case anymore because people chose to not get acquired, which I know saying that out loud sounds ridiculous, and a lot of people would be like, "No, of course I would take the money." Sure, but like I think when it comes to teams like Once Upon a Farm or what clearly is going to happen to Chobani, a few other brands like come to mind. Uh, you see that like in order to achieve the core value or achieve the mission, you have to stay independent. You cannot be owned by Mars or Hershey or Kellogg's. I think they're one of them, or unless they're owned by someone else. At this point, like the best thing you could possibly do if you care about continuing to deliver value to your consumers, stay independent, and you can
But
do
but
that and
but
be
but Jimmy,
profitable
they
in food.
promised. No one's ever broken a promise before. They gave me their word.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they're gonna break their promises. They're gonna break all of them,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you can't get around that. Like,
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
think it's important that more people see this and they say like, "Oh, I could do that," but also, um, to my point with like No Baked, I don't plan on selling No Baked. No Baked is my company. I run it. It makes me money. It pays my bills. I don't need to raise money, and that feels good. It feels great, and it means no. It means Megan has complete and total creative control over her brand too, for the rest of the time. You could say that I'm silly for doing that, or you could understand that if you have something that you care about and it pays your bills and you like doing it, there's no reason to sell it.
Dude, no one
Both
knows your
those things are
business
true.
better than you. Nobody can understand where you're coming from. And that's
Yeah.
what's so funny about when people tell like people give this advice that and then they get butthurt that founders don't take their advice. It's like, dude, you have no idea about my company. You ran your company. Good for you. I didn't try to tell you what to do because I that's not even my place. I would have no idea where to start.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, and when people make judgments like that, I'm just like, you haven't learned that lesson yet. That's I'm eventually you'll we'll welcome you to the club of like maturity.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think everybody starts out in this industry, at least when they're green, thinking, like, I can build this thing, raise as much money as possible, grow distribution specifically to the moon. So, like, as many doors as I possibly can hit. And then when I'm done doing that, someone's going to buy it and I'm going to sit on a beach.
Right.
And that's
Dude,
just,
I was at a dinner last night and the founder I was talking to, I said, "What's your plan for profitability?" And
Mm.
he looked at me and he laughed. He
Whoa.
said, I'm going to sell this. And I'm thinking to myself, with no plan to profitability, like even the buyer is going to want to take your company
The
when you're
buyer's gonna
losing,
want that.
you're losing, you're going to be losing money every single quarter, every single year. And you think that you're going to be able to sell?
Ain't
Yeah,
gonna
it's not
work.
happening. It's
Yep.
not happening. It's definitely not happening anymore. And I would caution people to think that I would caution people away from thinking that way for one reason. Go take a look for a moment, if you're a curious person, at the public financials of the largest CPG companies. There are some that are like a little smaller that are public, like Smuckers. Good example. Go take a look at Smuckers. You tell me if you think Smuckers doesn't have a plan for profitability. I don't think they've ever
Hmm.
lost money.
Yeah.
I don't think that the big companies don't. They don't lose money. They
They just
period.
print
And
cash
you could
forever.
say, "Oh, they're mature." You get to pick what mature is for your brand. To your point earlier,
Right.
Hank, you could say, "I sell in like these 10 banners, and we've been there for 5 years, and our customers keep coming back, and we don't pay slotting fees anymore or anything like that, and our trade spends down to like 10% of sales or lower because we do really well. These stores, our customers are there, and we have a good relationship." And that's 5 years. 5 years of investment, guys. Like 5 years is not a career. 5 years isn't even like a phase. It's 5 years. My daughter's been alive longer than 5 years. It's crazy. Um, at the end of the day, like that can happen. And then you tell me what would happen if you had 10 large banners selling your product profitably because you have good margins, because you actually did the work. You found out that you could sell a thing for a price that people would pay. Like you buy it for X, you sell it for Y. Someone explain to me how you wouldn't make money. Someone explain to me if I had a $5 million a year business with that kind of situation and our gross margins are like 40%. I'll be so bad margins, right? Like 40% margins. You're gonna make $2 million a year gross. You won't have cash problems anymore because you're not growing, so you don't have to increase working capital.
Right.
Maybe you have to put some money in the bank. Maybe you keep using debt. I don't know. You have to pay for insurance, right? You got to pay 10% trade spend, so that's like 500 grand. So now you have $1.5 million, and then insurance and a bunch of office expenses and bullshit. I have $1 million. $1 million, guys. And that doesn't sound ridiculous. And I would love someone to tell me why I'm wrong. And they
Dude,
can't.
it sounds like you're a future father of the bride. Sounds like you're going to be able to pay for a wedding.
That's
Well,
right.
I'm sitting here and saying like I'm not necessarily saying no because doing $5 million, but what I'm saying, maybe we will at some point. What I'm saying is to every CPG founder out there, you get to choose when you stop growing. When you do grow, you get to choose. These things
And it's not stop
feel
growing
forced.
forever. You
No.
know, Oatly was super profitable in Sweden or wherever they're from.
Right.
Yeah.
Super, super profitable. And then I don't know, they drank their Kool-Aid
Yeah.
and
The
and then
crazy people got in charge and they did their
and then
thing.
right,
They drank the oat milk, man.
they drank the oat milk, man. But for
Yeah.
20 something, 22, 25 years or whatever, they controlled their growth and they were making printing cash. You know what I mean?
Dude,
Yeah.
we
So
were just talking about Chobani. That Chobani's been doing that for 25 years.
yeah.
Owned by the
And
same guy, not taking outside capital. How do you think he did that? He grew really slowly.
yeah.
Period.
And when he saw opportunities to grow in a big way that was profitable and affordable, he took those, you know,
Yeah. That's really because
minimize
you
your
can say no to
losses.
most stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Uh, has to be most stuff because everybody's got their hand out. Everybody wants to eat. Everybody wants to get paid. So yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
and every retailer is like, hey, like come, like, especially if you go to like the distributor trade shows. And retailers send buyers there, I'm convinced, to not buy your product, but to sell you stuff in return.
Hmm.
Like, you want to buy my ad? Do you want to like do this promotion next year? Like, no, dude, I don't. Like, I actually, unless you're gonna somehow convince me it's a good idea, which is highly unlikely. Like, I don't. I just don't want to do that. Why do I not want to do that? It's a dumb decision, and you can not giving everyone like blanket advice, but like advice that I've found is basically blanket advice, not even in our industry, but just across industries. If it's not good for your customer,
Mhm.
it's probably a bad idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
right.
even in the advertising game, like if you're marketing to people, your marketing or your trade spend or the things that you spend money on to promote your brand or your product should probably be good for your customer a little bit. Like a TPR is good for your customer, right? It's cheaper, like to buy your product for less money, and
Yeah.
hopefully it boosts sales, so then the retailer is happy too. But like paying to be in your distributor's ad is not good for your customer. It raises your overhead and doesn't do much. It's just kind of like a pay to play thing. It's silly, and that happens across industries. It's not just in food. People have a grift or a thing.
You just
To
said the
your
word.
point, yeah. You were like, everyone's got their hand out. It's like, yeah, they do. And they have a
Yep.
thing and they think like, hey, I can provide some value. And in fact, they can't. And
You know what's
then,
really
you know,
cool
it is
about
what it
who
is.
doesn't have their hand out are other operators, other founders on
Yep.
LinkedIn. If you and by the way, this guy who I was having dinner with last night, he said, "I'm not a LinkedIn guy." And I said, "Dude, you have no idea what you're saying no to.
Yeah.
You are absolutely a LinkedIn guy."
You
I'm
just don't
like,
know it
Everyone is a
yet.
LinkedIn guy.
yeah, right. Like you could anyway, so not to like go out here on a limb and start promoting LinkedIn, but I think that the good that LinkedIn does for founders is
It's huge.
massively outweighs any sort of cost that they ask for in returns. Definitely, if you don't spend some time building relationships on LinkedIn, I think you're doing it wrong. Just my opinion.
I completely agree with you, and only because you, Hank, are part of the old guard. You've been on LinkedIn longer than me.
Yeah.
This guy is, you leaned in a long time ago. I didn't lean into LinkedIn until like this year. Not
Hmm.
like actively. I wasn't trying to actively use it. Granted, I have a lot more free time now.
Yeah.
I'm
Right.
spending it on LinkedIn. That sounds so messed up. Like I went from working in my manufacturing facility to posting on LinkedIn 3 times a day.
Yeah. And some people
Here's what
do
that
it.
taught me
Some
about
people
B2B
have their
sales.
the maps and the graphs, dude. It
Yeah.
gets my somehow LinkedIn
I
knows
found
that
a
we engage a
niche.
lot.
I
It's
found a
usually the
niche.
first 3 or 4 posts in my feed when I hop on, but
It's
sometimes
actually
people look
kind of
at it like
hilarious.
work, but I actually just think of it like, okay, I'm just, checking in to see what is the news, what are the buddies, and I say that like women, men, what are the
Yeah.
other
Yeah.
founders celebrating? And I don't think that it's a bad thing to celebrate your wins on LinkedIn, dude. I
No,
think
and
Absolutely
I
that
not.
you
use
need
it to connect
every
with other founders to your point. Like that to me is it's kind of irreplaceable and it's hard to do on other platforms. I found it hard to do on like X, Threads,
It is.
Instagram, because those platforms are so much larger in
Yeah.
their
It's
I
not a
guess in their
cohort.
audience base, but it's
and
not
this also
cohort.
This also brings me to like how real LinkedIn can be too, because you got founders like Allison Kane, who has her own podcast, and Alex Bear, who just started his YouTube channel. And these are founders who, and I'm part of this group called the Failed Founders Club.
I
And
love that.
oh man, there's like 50 of us,
Can
and
I join?
do we wear matching jumpsuits? And it's because almost every successful air quote founder has failed at something that led them to where they are today. Like you see what you think is a final product, and we're all works, we're all progress in motion, but y- every single one of us understands that you cannot identify with failure as like a title just because your business closed. Like that's
Absolutely.
just you're subject to so many things that are outside your control. You cannot take that personally. And I think that like the mental health that I've gone through over the last 10 years of Nature's Wildberry and 2 failed businesses before that has taught me like, dude, you need to find your people. Like the people
Absolutely.
that are going through and feeling how you're feeling, like you need to like see where they are if they're 5 years ahead of you or 5 years behind you or whatever
Yep. Where's your tribe?
you need exactly. So
Also, to
just
your
shout
point,
out to
man.
those guys,
Uh,
keeping it
I
real.
mean, they are probably keeping it real. I don't know all of them, but I know Alex, and like Alex keeps it real, like for real, for real. And also, you have to have some. I think a lot of people don't have like awareness for some reason of the fact that like the majority of the time we're failing at everything we do. Like I'm one of those people that's like
How do
very
you define
tight knit.
failing? There's a million
Yeah.
ways to define it, but it's
Yeah,
not
sure,
getting what
sure.
you want right now. That's what it is.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
But like you could even define it, Hank, as just like making the wrong decision. Which
Yeah,
I found that
absolutely.
in like business, you have to kind of make as many decisions as you can as fast as you can because that's the only way to survive and like attempt to succeed. It basically means most of the time you're wrong. The majority of the things I've tried for no baked to be like think about it. I tried to open like the scoop shops and then like franchising and then e-com didn't work and then I was like we're gonna sell to grocery and grocery didn't really work and then Dash Mart kind of worked and then we're gonna manufacture in-house, we're gonna manufacture with co-man, we're gonna manufacture in-house, we're gonna manufacture the co-man. Like it sounds ridiculous and I sound like a person that's non-committal. I did give each one of these things, guys, by the way. It's been a decade. They all got
Yeah.
their
Took some big
several
swings at all
years.
those things. I
But
watched
you
him
Yeah.
know
do
what?
it.
At different times, things make different sense.
Right.
You know,
But
sometimes
what I found with
co-manufacturing
solids,
makes sense in a period
yeah,
of time in your business where self-manufacturing doesn't, and vice versa. I was watching the
yeah,
highlights of the Spurs last night, and super freaking star team. They might win the whole freaking thing this year. And you know what? They're talking about how successful they were because they shot 45% from beyond the
Yeah.
arc. And I'm thinking
Yeah.
they're missing more than they're making. But it's
yeah.
shots on goal to your point, Jimmy.
Yep.
It's always
Shots on
shots on
goal.
goal. So like I
Yep.
told Daniel that earlier in
Yep.
2025, the thing that really clicked for me, uh, I'd say like right around like July, about halfway through the year, because spent the first half of the year like kind of mourning my own failure. It's what I felt. Like I felt as though I
Self
had
wallow.
yeah,
Yeah.
well, I felt that I'd completely failed because I was going to acquire these other businesses. I was going to build this co-man thing, like, and I was like, I just didn't pull it off. I didn't pull it off. I couldn't do it, and I couldn't mentally do it, or emotionally. And then I realized, no, dude, it's about shots on goal. Like, I want to fail more. Like, I want to try more things. I need to start trying things that like just come out of left field. And I started trying more things, like different ways to make money, like different business ideas. I was like, let me just execute on them. Instead of saying them out loud, let me just give it a shot. Like do the MVP. Um, I think I've like tried out like 12 different things this year, or not this year, but like as of like last year. I think about half of them didn't work or didn't turn into anything at all. I just stepped away from one of them. Full disclosure for everyone out there. Uh, but like a lot of them worked or started working or are kind of clicking, and I'm like, okay, like maybe this is what I was missing the whole time. Like I told Daniel on the phone the other day, I was like, if I had done the Turo thing and started like buying cars and renting them on Turo back in 2018 when I was making tons of money, I'd be rich right now.
Yeah.
I'd be super rich. Um, that would have been shots on goal. That would have just been me saying like I'm gonna try different stuff. But at the time, I'll tell you where my head was at. My head was I have to hold on as tightly as I can to no baked, and I have to force it to the end zone. Like I don't know what the end zone is. For me at the time, it was like we have to sell this thing. Like I have to sell this thing before I'm 28 years old. Guys, I'm not 28 anymore. I'm so fucking far past that. Like I'm gonna be 33 this year. Like this is a thing where like I think more people could take the lesson that you just said, Hank, and be like, I'm just taking shots on goal. I'm not overthinking it. Like if you're
Yeah.
shooting from the 3-point line, you're not making 90% of your shots unless you're completely unguarded and in an empty room by yourself.
No
Like it's
competition.
not happening.
Yeah.
Shots on goal also means that you're changing your way of thinking. So in the past, a bunch of people are gonna, pitch me, and I'm just gonna say absolutely not or not respond. What I started doing is I started reframing what the opportunity was that could actually give me an ROI. So I said, how about this instead? And, still you're going to hear, that doesn't work for me. But that exists out there in the back of their mind. If what they're doing doesn't work, I might be getting a call in 3, 6, 12 months from now saying, hey, remember that thing that you said you were open to? Let's do that instead. And I'm telling you, those type of small wins add up as well. And you never know, like, instead of, you know, obviously you got to protect your time, but if there is an opening where somebody has an opportunity and it doesn't benefit you, and your first instinct is to not respond at all, might be just give them a sentence back and say, what about this instead? Leave it
Yeah.
with a question mark and see what happens. And maybe 20-30% of the time you'll get a okay right away and see what happens from that. My
That's
advice.
Guys, I have to
actually,
run. I'm heading into a hard stop here. I got somewhere to be, but this
yeah.
was a great episode. I loved this. This was fantastic.
I'm gonna wrap it up with Hank,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Daniel,
Please do.
I'll see you
Thanks,
later.
guys. It was great.
Kill it.
See you next time.
Later, Dan.
Yep.
Yeah, man, that's actually really good advice. Like spectacular advice when you think about it. Because and I started doing something similar to that, but not exactly that. Now I'm gonna copy you. The way I started thinking about it was like, look, like every single DM that comes through the inbox and LinkedIn, which right now I haven't been through my DM since February 11th, so if that tells you anything. But I'll go through them occasionally because I keep telling myself, I'm like, there's gold in there somewhere. Because when I first met the DoorDash team, it was through those DMs. I've gotten a couple investors through those DMs, people that just, I guess, have been following the journey, and they were like, can I put money into the company? I'm like, sure. A lot of other like weird opportunities, right? And also in the inbox, like in the cold emails. People know me originally on LinkedIn from like me saying like cold emails are stupid, but I didn't actually say that. What I said, and I've changed my thinking on this a little bit, but I still kind of believe this. Like, don't email me unless you have like clear and present value. To me, just meant like, don't cold email me unless you have like a reason to talk. But like, if you have a reason to talk, then like we should talk, because
Right.
like to your point, like you have to protect your time. But say you hire an assistant, which I think every founder should do, like as soon as they possibly can.
Mhm.
Um, Tell your assistant like a high ROI way for them to pay for themselves would be to respond to every single email that comes into your inbox, even the ridiculous cold ones, because you can at least go out there and say like, yeah, like, maybe I will take your sales meeting. Megan the other day took a meeting with someone who she thought it would be stupid. Um, she did it because they gave her a gift card to Starbucks.
Yeah.
So anything will work right there, right? She's like, gift card to Starbucks, I'll do this meeting. But she ended up coming away from it being like, oh, we're going to use this. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Found little like needle in the haystack.
Hmm.
And specifically, like our employees will be using it as a way to get health insurance, like at the scoop shop. Um, but it was interesting because normally, I think in the past you'd have written it off. When really, like in reality, to your point, like there is gold in there somewhere. Just don't know where
The
it is.
the people that we just set up HSA payments on Shopify for the medical food for the Miracle Berries,
That's
for
awesome.
people who are living with diabetes type 2, people who have a change in smell and taste, which is a very common side effect from COVID, people who have a loss of appetite or living with eating disorder like anorexia. And then like the big one is the chemotherapy. Like anecdotally, by far for 20 plus years, people have been writing in newspapers or whatever publication about how the berry helps patients going through chemo taste like normal instead of metallic. And we've never, no Miracle Berry company has ever been able to respond to that. But we did the whole clinical trial thing, and the people who accept the payments, like the little HSA cards that, employees get, um, was a cold email. And then I was like, what about this instead? And they were like, we can do that. And I was like,
Fascinating.
let's set up a meeting.
That's amazing. So now you guys are a certified medical product.
Yeah,
That's
it did.
that's
We
amazing.
had to we had to do different labeling, and it's under doctor physician supervision. But the whole point is like it's like affordable next steps, like strides in the right direction.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know.
I love
And
that. I
it
fucking
happened on a cold email that I could have just totally ignored, but I was like, you know what, this could be something. This could, like improving quality of life, actually differentiating between people who want it and need it for the first time. Oh, before we go, I got can we do this? Can we do this?
yeah, we can do this. I don't know what we're doing.
Connoisseur du jour. I want to try something that I went to a tasting event from the Well. I don't think it's called the Well Club. I think it's called the Well Group. Yeah, they did a Santa Monica event and the Shark Tank brand called
Oh,
Prickly.
prickly.
Can
Dude,
you
I
see
love that
Prickly?
stuff, man. I
Okay,
love it.
so this is the Prickly Pear Original. It has only 50 calories. This is the new look that they say, zero artificial colors or sugars,
My
and it's
kids drank
made.
12 of those in
Okay,
2 days.
okay. So what's in here is the water, prickly pear fruit, agave, which is the sweetener, lemon juice, natural flavors, which is, people pick on natural flavors, but would you rather have unnatural flavors or natural flavors? Okay, and vitamin C. So, uh, and it's a way to just to stay hydrated. I think of it, and it's non-carbonated too, right? So, I have had this at the event, and I know that it's kind of, it reminds me a little bit of like I don't want to say healthier, but a different, you know how LaCroix or Hint, just you barely taste the sweetness and it's mostly water?
Yeah, prickly's a level up from that.
This is a
But
level up.
like I was a big fan. I was kind of tripped out by the fact that there was no carbonation. And
It
I met
does.
the
You
founder
do
Quan.
expect the carbonate. You met
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, when I talked to him, well, I was considering like putting money into the company. Um
Ooh. Oh, that's a lot.
and
Another thing we got to talk about before we end up hopping off Sprout CPG. But yeah, keep going, keep going.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm stepping away from Sprout, by the way, just in case
Oh,
anybody didn't know.
dropping news. Dropping
So,
news right now.
but I am still doing the work I was doing like tangentially to Sprout, like meeting with
Hmm.
founders, introducing them to people, putting them in touch with the Sprout team, anyone that was still like involved over there. Uh, but yeah, when I was talking to Quan, I was like, "You really want to use a can?" Because it was so weird to me. He was like, "It's a hydration drink, man. Like we're gonna replace Gatorade," and I was like, "That's cool. I love it." And then he sent me samples, and I was like, "I love it way more." I loved Prickly. I love it. Like I can actually, of all the drinks I have tried and like given to my kids, um, it's my favorite because like sparkling water is great, but like it's also just sparkling water. And I'm like, what if I want to drink like juice or something? I don't know. Like, and there's never been a thing like that, so I loved that. But I was like, if you're gonna replace Gatorade, like I just kept thinking about like opening it and then like sitting it down in the gym and then it getting like knocked over, and I was like, I don't want to do that. Yeah, he was like, cans, dude, cans are the way because there's no plastic. Like, you don't want to like go launching a brand with plastic right now.
You
But yeah,
don't. We did a plastic-free tin, which gave our berries a 10-year shelf life. And I'm kind of leaning into the whole plastic-free. But I'm pretty positive that inside these cans there are plastic lining. So I don't know about like,
I think it's
I
mostly
mean,
an
it's
optics
hidden.
thing.
Yeah, it's hidden. Also, like, how many people are trying to replace Gatorade? Like, isn't Prime trying to replace Gatorade?
Yeah, but
Uh,
Prime's trash.
I mean,
Prickly is natural hydration, my man.
I don't I'm not disagreeing with you at all. It is natural, and I freaking fell in love with the flavor um on the berry. So I want to do this. It's called
Let's do
Connoisseur
it.
du jour. Connoisseur du jour.
I love it.
I always think
I have a bunch of berries. I don't have any prickly, so I'm gonna let
okay,
you do
okay.
this.
So do you remember in Dumb and Dumber where Lloyd and Harry they're sitting down in the diner, and Lloyd asks the server, it's like, "What is this soup du jour?" And she said, "Well, it's soup of the day." And he says, "Lovely, sounds lovely. I'll have that." So it's kind of like a play on my favorite quotable movie, Dumb and Dumber.
I
But
love that.
connoisseur du jour just means like, I think every one of us has a connoisseur within us. Whether you like to admit it or not, you can find it as soon as you close your eyes and you start thinking about how delicious something tastes. I think that makes you a connoisseur. And with the berry, you can have it every day. Obviously, I have mine multiple times, like this little packet that I have.
Mine multiple
I'm gonna
times.
I'm I'm gonna have to go through it in 2 days, easy, and it's 50 servings. So, but you have one berry or two halves. If you feel rich, you could just have one half if you want to stretch the dollar, and then you let it coat your tongue for 30 seconds. And I left with a case of pricklies, dude, and I've been downing pricklies like anyways.
They're
So
good, dude. They're really good.
get
They're
talk
good.
talk about your experience with the founders of Prickly for 30 seconds while I let this coat my tongue.
I will. Yeah, so when I met them, the other thing that I will mention about Prickly, about the cactus water, the thing I liked is they explained to me that like cactus water is like the prickly pear cactus. That whole drink is like a real thing that people made. So like
Hmm.
I have a rule, or me and Daniel both have this rule, really, and Megan, chef driven, not lab driven. All I mean by that is like I think that people should lean into family recipes. Similar, we did a podcast with Willa's, the oat milk, and Christina was talking about, yeah, like her grandma Willa is like who made the oat milk originally, like back in the day, like a long time ago. She was making oat milk in her kitchen, and so like it's a derivative of that recipe. I think good CPG products generally start with a story like that. Kodiak cakes is also another example. There are many others where it's like this is a family recipe, or this is a thing I made in my kitchen. It's a thing I made with a chef. I have a restaurant. You have to lean into things that are real, and so like Prickly's doing that.
Hmm.
Nobody's ever packaged cactus water, but people apparently been drinking that in the Mountain West for
Yeah,
like the
and
last million years.
I like how they talk about how like resilient the cactus is too. And I think we're all survivors. Like you don't have to be a founder to identify with
Okay, come
that. You
with you.
could just be anybody.
Hank, wrap this up. I gotta go get my kids. I want to know what it
T-
tastes like.
God damn, dude, it is. You got
So
to try it,
everyone
man.
should buy.
You
Everyone
got
should
to
buy
try it.
wild berries. Should buy prickly.
No,
Go to
you
your
got
local
it. You
store.
got it. You got the berries. I want
Just go to
your
your local Whole
reaction
Foods and pick up some
next
prickly.
time we do this.
I'll
Next time
go.
we
You know
do
what? I'm gonna
this.
go to Whole Foods. It's by my kid's school. I'm gonna buy some prickly, and then we're gonna do this.
Actually, all you got to do is you just do the 30-second thing, pop the camera on, taste it, put it in the comments on this video.
Okay, I'll do that.
Make it easy. You don't have to wait
All
till
right,
a month from now.
guys. This is a
All
great
right.
episode.
Love you,
Hank, talk
Jimmy.
to you
Thanks for
later.
all the help, man.
Bye.